What's up, guys? It's Benny. Remember the good times, like right before President Trump was sworn in as president, and George Stephanopoulos had to settle with Donald Trump for $15 million because he lied and said that Donald Trump was convicted of rape. That's, of course, not true. ABC News paid $15 million as a charitable contribution to President Trump's presidential foundation. I hear from people inside of the Trump orbit that this is going to create the fake news wing of Trump's presidential library, and it will have the logos of all of the news companies that paid for this. And it's very, very funny. Anyway, ABC News and its top anchor, George Stephanopoulos, have reached a settlement with Donald Trump in a defamation suit. The network will pay $15 million. The settlement was publicly filed on Saturday evening. The two parties came to an agreement to avoid a costly trial. So anyway, George had to do this and then apologize to Trump. Oh, yeah. And so we'll be looking forward to the next apology from George Slopadopoulos, as Donald Trump would say, because George Stephanopoulos has now done something also humiliating live on air on ABC. A reminder that George Stephanopoulos is the Bill Clinton White House press secretary. So ABC News, I mean, it's one thing to have like Kayleigh McEnany or Sarah Sanders on Fox News, okay? They're on Fox News. We know that they work for Trump. They have their own shows. They have their own voice. I don't even mind like Jen Psaki on MSNBC. It's kind of the same thing. It's the same card, right? And these people bring some insights and knowledge to all this. What they did with George Stephanopoulos is they put him as the key anchor on a non-biased, nonpartisan show when he was the hatchet man for Bill Clinton. Through all the scandals, he was the press secretary for Bill Clinton. He was the operator for Bill Clinton. This man has no objectivity. He is an absolute total hatchet man for the Democrat Party. And he rage quit an interview here with J.D. Vance. It's really funny. It's making tons of news. J.D. Vance went scorched earth on him for pushing a bogus story regarding Tom Homan. And J.D. Vance obviously called him out and said, this is why you are losing so many viewers. Oh, man. And then George Stephanopoulos literally rage quit the interview. It's a thing of beauty. Check this out.
I don't know what tape you're referring to, George. I saw media reports that Tom Homan accepted a bribe. There's no evidence of that. And here's, George, why fewer and fewer people watch your program and why you're losing credibility. Because you're talking for now 5 minutes with the Vice President of the United States about this story regarding Tom Homan, a story that I've read about, but I don't even know the video that you're talking about. Meanwhile, low-income women can't get food because the Democrats and Chuck Schumer have shut down the government. Right now, we're trying to figure out how to pay our troops because Chuck Schumer has shut down the government. You are focused on a bogus story. You're insinuating criminal wrongdoing against a guy who has done nothing wrong instead of focusing on the fact that our country is struggling because our government's shut down. Let's talk about the real issues, George. I think the American people would benefit much more from that than from you going down some weird left-wing rabbit hole where the facts clearly show that Tom Homan didn't engage in any criminal wrongdoing.
It's not a weird left-wing rabbit hole. I didn't insinuate anything. I asked you whether Tom Homan accepted $50,000, as was heard on an audio tape recorded by the FBI in September 2024, and you did not answer the question. Thank you for your time this morning.
No, George, I said that I don't.
Up next, we'll be right back.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you're that thin-skinned, you don't belong in this business. Also, the way that J.D. Vance handles these things is like so cool and so chill. You can see why people call him 48. J.D. Vance sharply challenged ABC News Stephanopoulos during heated exchange, prompting the network to abruptly cut the feed to a commercial break. Viewers are demanding an apology from George Stephanopoulos and ABC after he cut off J.D. Vance. Here, George, why fewer and fewer people watch your program. JD triggering libs over at fake news ABC, says Don Jr. JD Vance sharply challenged ABC's George Stephanopoulos, so much so they had to sprint to a commercial break. They literally cut the feed. We do use cut the feed quite a bit. You could call it liberally on this program, but they literally cut the feed on JD Vance. Breaking JD Vance went full force on all Fox, ABC, NBC and CBS shows this morning. 48 is the forefront of the Trump administration's public messaging campaign, the perfect use of his orator talents. He's well on his way to 2028. We'll play you some clips of all of these interviews in just a moment. ABC News cuts off the vice president. I mean, could you imagine them doing this to Kamala Harris? And he said they're losing credibility, and then what they do is they cut to a commercial break when he says it. Jeez. Viewers demand apology from ABC. Will they get one? Will they get a settlement? It is public airwaves, after all, same network as Jimmy Kimmel. Have to remind people that. Peace in the Middle East, China threatening critical supply chains, government shutdown. George S. doesn't care about that. He's here to focus on the real story, a fake scandal involving Tom Homan. So just absolutely bodied once more. Okay. Yeah, this is a really fun series of interviews. He also went after Letitia James. Here we go.
Letitia James was indicted in a left-leaning part of our country, a part that voted very heavily against Donald J. Trump for the crime of mortgage fraud. When I read the indictment, when I read the facts in the case, I see a person who committed mortgage fraud. Now, of course, the jury is going to decide whether she ultimately committed a crime. We don't try her. The administration doesn't try her. A judge tries the case, and a jury decides whether she's ultimately guilty. That is what is going to determine whether she goes to prison. I think we let the facts drive this. And George, that's what we've tried to do in the administration's Department of Justice. We've asked ourselves, has a person violated the law? And if that person has violated the law, then we decide to prosecute him. That's what the Department of Justice should do. It didn't do that under Joe Biden's administration. It does under Donald Trump's.
So yeah, everyone's enjoying all of this. J.D. Vance obviously had plenty of primo opportunities to roast libs. He roasted J.B. Pritzker here, and has quite a bit of informational ammo here.
Governor Pritzker will talk a lot, I'm sure, about how bad Donald Trump is, about how bad I am, and about how bad the administration is. He is the governor of a state where its biggest city has murder rates that rival the most violent places in the third world, George. Why is he so mad at Donald Trump for trying to keep Chicagoans safe? He should be mad at the criminals that he has failed to keep at bay. We're trying to help him, and we're trying to help the residents of his biggest city. I wish that he would let us, because he certainly isn't doing the job himself.
Juanita Broderick, who has a very interesting relationship with the Clintons, has Slopodopoulous is the worst. Trump sues ABC News. I don't know if you can sue him for cutting into a commercial break, but it was really funny. Here's J.D. Vance on a different note on Fox News. Enjoy.
The military will get paid despite this shutdown. The next pay period is October 15th, and we were expecting that the military would miss that paycheck. What are the plans?
Well, the plan is that when you're in a shutdown, and we're in the shutdown, of course, because Schumer and the Democrats shut down the government because they were trying to force us to give health care benefits to illegal aliens. And now that we're in this shutdown, we're trying to figure out how to ensure that as many Americans receive essential services as possible. We're doing a lot to ensure that low-income women and children get their food benefits. We're trying to make sure that flood insurance and other insurance programs don't disappear during the height of hurricane season. But we're also, Maria, doing some pretty non-conventional things, as President Trump often does, to ensure that our troops are able to get paid. We are confident we've identified the legal pathways in order to do this, but it's really important for the President of the United States. Even though Schumer has shut down the government, he doesn't want our troops to suffer because of it. Of course, he doesn't want our national security to suffer because of it either. But wouldn't it be great, Maria, the last point I'll make on this, wouldn't it be great if the Democrats just opened up the government so that we did not have to make these very difficult decisions? You hear a lot of Senate Democrats say, well, how can Donald Trump possibly lay off all of these federal workers? Well, the Democrats have given us a choice between giving low-income women their food benefits and paying our troops on the one hand, and on the other hand, paying federal bureaucrats. Well, given that choice, we're going to choose low-income women. We're going to choose our troops. That is the choice the Democrats have given us. I would really appreciate if they gave us a different choice. The country would be better off for it.
Well, where will the money come from then for the troops?
Well, some of it will come from just tightening the belts. Some of it will come from tightening the belts in other areas. But, Maria, this is exactly right. A lot of this will come from incoming revenues to the Internal Revenue Service, tariff revenue, but also income tax revenue that is going to make it possible for us to pay our troops. And this is another reason why President Trump's decisive action on tariffs is one of the reasons why we have the money in the Treasury to actually be able to pay our troops. So it is one of the critical things that we've done, of course, to reshore America's industrial base, to create good jobs in the United States of America. But the tariffs have also given us a little bit of financial flexibility so that we can keep on as many essential services as possible, including, most importantly, paying the troops.
And the president said that he's going to use this opportunity to cut down government. Can you assess how significant these job cuts will be?
Well, the longer it goes on, Maria, the more significant they're going to be. If you remember, we went 9 days before announcing any significant layoffs. Again, the President of the United States wanted to reopen the government. He was trying to work with Democrats in order to make that happen. But the longer this goes on, the deeper the cuts are going to be. And Maria, to be clear, some of these cuts are going to be painful. This is not a situation that we relish. This is not something that we're looking forward to. But the Democrats have dealt us a pretty difficult set of cards. We're trying to do the best that we can with the shutdown situation that Chuck Schumer has left us.